NFL Week 2 is here. Who are my 5 favorite gambling picks this week? Plus, we take a ride on the NFL elevator. What's that? It's the top 10 teams in the league after Week 1. Can't wait. Let's go. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Marco. If you like what we're doing around here, please click subscribe, click the bell, click like on this video. All of that really helps the channel. I really appreciate it. And get involved in the conversation. Leave a comment below if you don't like what I'm saying or if you disagree. Please let me know, and we'll have some healthy discourse, if you will, on my sports takes. Really appreciate all that. Okay. Let us begin this week with my NFL picks. So, what I'm going to do every week is I'm going to give you 5 picks. These are 5 picks that I really like, gambling picks. We're not just picking games. We got to pick the lines as well. 5 picks that I really like. I give you a reason why. And then when we come back on the following week's show, I give my record, full transparency. Again, past performance is not indicative of future results. I had a horrendous week last week. Full disclosure, I went 1-4 last week. I got the big L on my forehead. The only game I got right, believe it or not, was Tampa Bay +7 against the Minnesota Vikings. I lost the Bears bet. I lost the Sunday Night Football bet of Dallas. I don't know what possessed me to change it to the New York Giants. I was on Dallas all week long and changed it just before that game kicked off and felt like an absolute moron 5 minutes into it. Who else was I on? I was on the Bills, which... Okay. I was on the Bills, obviously, before the Rodgers injury, and then once the Rodgers injury happened, I sort of had the, well, we'll check this off as a win, and they held the lead the entire game, and then Josh Allen played perhaps the worst game of his NFL career, and that bet went up in smoke. And what was the last bet that I had? Oh, it was the Indianapolis Colts. That's another one that really upset me. It just shows you the margins in this league are so thin. I had Colts +4.5, I want to say, and the final score, Indianapolis ended up losing by 14, but they were in the, or no, did they lose by 14 or 10? I can't remember. Either way, I think it was 10 because yes, it was 10 because they were at the 1 yard line, and they had 4 plays in a row. They had first and goal from the 1, maybe the 2, 4 plays in a row. Anthony Richardson gets hurt. They put in Gardner Minshew. They still couldn't punch it in. They got all the way to 4th down, still couldn't put it in the end zone. Ended up losing that game, and Jacksonville covered in that game. And I, of course, became a big fat loser, even though I had that game won as well, pretty much the majority of the game. The Colts led most of that game. But you know what? That's gambling. That's the way it goes. I'll take my lumps. I'm 1-4 on the season. Let's try and go 5-0 this week. So we begin in Jacksonville. And I normally would love the Jaguars. And +3, a home dog, is a really delicious number. But I like Kansas City in this spot, -3. -3 because now they've got Chris Jones back, number 1. And number 2, it looks like Travis Kelce is going to play in this game. And I think that the difference maker in that Detroit Lions opening night game was the fact that those 2 guys were not in the lineup. I think it's a totally different game if those 2 are in the lineup. And not only that, do you really think Kadarius Toney is going to have 5 drops again? Or more to the point, do you really think that Patrick Mahomes is going to go after Kadarius Toney that many times again? They're going to get a lot of pressure on Jacksonville. I really like Jacksonville, by the way, and this is a little bit of a tease. They're a top 10 team right now. I really do like the Jaguars, but they went into Indy. That's a division rival. They never really necessarily would have lost that game, but there was a lot of weird stuff that happened, and Indianapolis is not a good team. And do you really think Kansas City's going 0-2? I mean, really? If they are, that's going to be the shock of the year so far. So give me Kansas City -3 going into Jacksonville and getting a much-earned victory. Next, speaking of the Detroit Lions, it's their home opener against the Seattle Seahawks. Look, week 2 of the NFL, I think, is the most dangerous gambling week on the calendar because there are a lot of teams, and you'll see my picks are sort of reflective of this. There's a lot of teams that had really good weeks in week 1 or really bad weeks in week 1, and that leads people to really jump on that team. For me, Seattle is a little bit different because Seattle just did not look good whatsoever against a far inferior LA Rams team, and Seattle was at home. Now, Seattle's got to go to Detroit to play the Lions in their home opener. The Lions are going to have 10 days of rest. They're at home. I love the way that defense looked against Patrick Mahomes. What do you think they're going to do to Geno Smith? Really, the only huge offensive weapon that they have is DK Metcalf. But really, minus 5.5. That's Bill Simmons likes to call that the Vegas zone, right? Because usually NFL lines are 3 and 7 points. When you get a 5.5, to me that shows that Vegas doesn't really know what to do with the line. So they just sort of split it down the middle, and obviously the lines are designed this way anyway. They're trying to get half the money on Seattle and half on Detroit. But here, I really think that they don't know what to make of Detroit's victory in Arrowhead. I'm gonna ride with the Lions. I was hot on them in the preseason. I'm hot on them now. I'm much more hot on because at the end of the day, they did go into Arrowhead. They did get a victory last week. Yeah, okay, fine. Kansas City wasn't at full strength. Doesn't matter. They won the game on the road in Arrowhead. Now they're playing an inferior team in Seattle at home. It's a big number, but I like it. Minus 5.5. Next, Baltimore in Cincinnati. The Ravens are getting 3.5 points to face that Cincinnati Bengals team that got absolutely wiped by the Browns last week. And yet, I like the Ravens this week. I don't think Cincinnati is going to lose this game. I'm picking them to win outright. But this is a division game. 3.5 is a pretty large number. Vegas is basically determining that the Baltimore Ravens aren't going to... They have their injuries have really caught up with them. They lost J.K. Dobbins for the year. But I also don't think Joe Burrow is totally right. Everyone is forgetting, and I mentioned this in the previous show, and they're my pick to go to the Super Bowl, win the Super Bowl, blah, 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 blah. And I said that injury with Burrow is not going to be a huge thing. Well, we saw on the first game of the season, it seems to be a pretty big thing. I actually would almost, and I know this is a really stupid thing to say in theory, but I would almost hold Burrow out of this game. I know it's a divisional game, but if he's not right, do you really want to take a chance to lose him in a division game for the year after week 2? Because that's, I don't know. I know I'm sort of saying kind of two different things here, but at the end of the day, 3.5 for a division game, two teams that absolutely hate each other. Cincinnati didn't really look right. Baltimore looked okay. I mean, yeah, they didn't play a good team in Houston, but they looked okay aside from the injuries, and Lamar's not going to have another game that bad again. I just don't believe it. So give me the Ravens plus 3.5, but Cincinnati wins. I think this is a 22-20, 23-20 type of victory for Cincinnati, but that still covers your 3.5 with Baltimore. All right, this one. Very, very interesting game. San Francisco at home laying 8 points to the Los Angeles Rams. San Francisco looked like the most complete team in the league last week. Absolutely took it to the Pittsburgh Steelers on the road. Now they come home for their home opener against a division rival. A team, by the way, that their coach Kyle Shanahan is 6 for 6 in their last 6 meetings against Sean McVay and the LA Rams. But, it's a huge but. Plus 8 is a gigantic number for a division game. And LA, I just don't believe that Sean McVay is going to lose again to Kyle Shanahan this early in the season. Stafford looked pretty darn good last week. They got those two new receivers that looked pretty good as well last week. I cannot remember their name. One of them is like Pachua or something like that. I apologize. But I like the Rams, plus 8 on the road in San Francisco, simply because 8 is, again, it's a giant number for a divisional game. Is San Francisco a better team? Yes. Is San Francisco going to be there at the end of the season and probably go into the Super Bowl? Also, yes. But remember, week 2, overvalue. Do I overvalue more that San Francisco is just that freaking good? Or is LA that really good? I mean, I think they're both a little overvalued, to be honest. Just a little bit. In week 2. I'm not saying for the whole year. I'm saying for week 2. I think people are going to see that 8 and they're going to say, well, they beat Pittsburgh by 40 and Pittsburgh's better than LA, so they'll beat them by 50. I don't think it works that way. I think it's a trap. Give me the Rams +8. San Francisco is going to win outright, but this to me is more a 4, 5, 6 point game. So give me the Rams +8, but San Fran wins outright. Last game, my Miami Dolphins heading to Foxborough on Sunday Night Football to play the New England Patriots. They are laying 2.5 points on the road. Give me the Dolphins. Dolphins -2.5. The Pats are going to drop to 0-2. I liked a little bit of what the Pats did, okay? They looked okay against the Eagles. They couldn't close that game late, mostly because the receiver couldn't get 2 feet in bounds. We don't know how that drive would have ended. We did know how it ended. He was out of bounds, but maybe Mac Jones, who was having a pretty good game, guides that team downfield. Maybe they win that game. But Miami, I'm telling you, if you have not watched their game against the Chargers this past weekend, that offense is the most deadly offense in the NFL. The things that Mike McDaniel is doing with those motions and using the speed of Waddle and Tyreek Hill to really get out on the perimeter, outside the numbers, and really burn defenses, I just don't think they're going to be well coached. They always are well coached, but I just don't think the Patriots have the speed and the talent on the back end of that defense or on the front end to get the type of pressure on Tua to make him make bad decisions. I think the Dolphins win this one. I think they win it handedly. I know it's a home game for New England. I know it's Sunday Night Football. I know it's going to be raucous out there in Foxborough, but I just like the Dolphins. I loved them last year until Tua got hurt. I love them again this year, and I'm telling you, if you have NFL Network, they've been showing it all week. Find the next viewing of that Chargers-Dolphins game and watch what they did on offense. This offense is electric from top to bottom. The passing game is so creative, so good. It is going to be so hard to stop the Miami Dolphins this year, particularly Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Give me the Dolphins -2.5 to go into their rival New England to beat the Patriots on Sunday Night Football. This is the week that we learn, we as a nation, I know what's up. I think most football fans know what's up, but the general football population, I don't think is ready for how good the Miami Dolphins really are. So that's my picks for this week. Let's move now to the second part of the show, the NFL elevator. All right, who's going up, who's going down. We'll do a top 10 every week. We'll do 2 teams that are on the outside looking in. And we're going to see how this plays out as the season goes along, as it is really fun if you pan out 10, 12 weeks down the road to see teams that were at 10, 11, 12 that have now moved to 3 or 4 or 1 even. I've seen it happen. So let's see who right now is on the outside looking in. So these would be like your 11 and 12 teams. For me, I've got the Cleveland Browns and the LA Chargers. The Browns for me, what a decisive home victory. A couple of things, though. The offense did look pretty good, but that defense was way, way more impressive. How much of it was the weather? How much of it was Cincinnati on the road? How much of it was Joe Burrow's injury? I don't know. But I like this spot for Cleveland. I like them at 11 or 12. I like them right on the outside looking in. Give them the rest of the season to either earn their way in or play their way out of the top 10. Same for the Chargers. I have not been happy with the LA Chargers for the past few years. I said it on my preview show. I'll link it down below a couple episodes ago. I said, look, I am off the Chargers train. I don't like their coaching. I don't like, and that game proved it. They get 40-something points out of that team and still lose that game. How does that happen? With that quarterback and those talented receivers, the Chargers put up 40 points and still lose the game. To me, that's bad coaching. But look, they could prove me wrong, they could shut me up, and they could play their way into the top 10. But as of right now, they're going to beat a lot of teams, I think. They may be better than I predicted they're going to be. But from what I saw, again, it's almost always the same problems. It's bad coaching late in games. They needed a first down. They call up a stupid play. Now, granted, the Dolphins' defense came up big. I talked about it in the last episode. But I really think that was a coaching type of game that lost that game for the Chargers. All right, let's meet our top 10. Number 10. Might be a little controversial. I'm probably going to get some comments down below. But number 10 is the Cincinnati Bengals. Why do I have them in over the Browns? Because I think they're just a much more talented team overall. And I just think First of all, they haven't won in Cleveland, I think, for 4 years now, something to that effect. Cleveland just has their number. There's just those types of teams out there that they just have your number. Again, I don't know how healthy Joe Burrow is. If he's fully healthy, this is a Super Bowl team. They're my pick to win the Super Bowl, and I'm already looking pretty bad by making that selection. But the Bengals, to me, I want to see the rest of the year. I said they would start off slow. They may even lose this weekend. I have the Ravens, as I just talked about, in my gambling picks, but I like them at number 10. Number 9, another team that lost this week, the Buffalo Bills. Why are they in the top 10? They lost that game without Aaron Rodgers. Because they lost that game because of one reason, that was Josh Allen. Josh Allen has been a turnover machine since he has gotten into the NFL. No quarterback has had more turnovers than Josh Allen since 2018. None. But if they can clean that up, and it appears maybe he's not going to clean it up, if they can clean it up, there's still a lot that I really like about the Buffalo Bills. Again, this is going to be an earn it situation. I think 9 for them is fair. I don't think it's fair to drop them out of the top 10 because at the end of the day, this team was like number 5 or 6 in the preseason. You're going to drop them 8 spots, 7 spots, 6 spots because of one game? Yeah, it was a weird, bad loss, but on the road, nonetheless. So I like him at 9. Again, I'm sounding like a broken record, but I think it's fair. They're either going to play their way up or play their way out. But for right now, at number 9, that seems okay for the Bills. They got a get-right game this weekend at home. I forget who they're playing. Let me check. Buffalo is playing the Raiders. Yeah, that's a get-right game. Got to win that one, especially at home. Number 8, Jacksonville Jaguars. I said it was really high on the Jaguars. I really liked what they did against the Colts in terms of it was a good game late, and they had to make the plays that they had to play. That connection of Trevor Lawrence and Calvin Ridley looks really, really good. I really like Jacksonville. I don't like them this weekend, as I talked about, against Kansas City. But as a whole, as an outlook, it would not surprise me whatsoever if they found themselves in the AFC Championship game. I know it's way too early to make that type of declaration, but I do like their odds going forward. I like that they have a pretty complete team. Their defense, once again, needs to be a little bit better because giving up that many points to a rookie quarterback with not a lot of talent on that offense in Indianapolis, that doesn't bode well when you're playing the Kansas Cities and the Baltimores and the Miamis of the world, which they're going to have to go through if they want to make the Super Bowl. Number 7, Detroit Lions. I'm doing it. I'm putting them in the top 10. I'm putting them at number 7. They probably could even be a little bit higher, but again, I'm going to ask them to prove it. You got a home game against Seattle. This should be an easy cupcake win. If we come back next week and they beat the Seahawks 28-14, that's it. They've earned their way in the top 10 going forward unless they completely slide down the hill. We've talked a lot about the Detroit Lions. They're here, okay? Number 7, good spot for them. Let's see if they can hang on. Number 6, Baltimore Ravens. Yes, a lot of injuries. Yes, Lamar didn't look very good. Yes, it was a home win against a pretty bad team in Houston. But look, I said it. They were one of my 5 teams that could win the Super Bowl at the beginning of the year. It doesn't change all that much. Now they're number 6. Big deal. I have them at 6. Number 5, Kansas City Chiefs. Again, I had them as my number 1 of 5 teams that could win the Super Bowl. They're down to 5 in the rankings. That is and again, the injuries, the this, the that, we've talked about it ad nauseum. We know what's up with the Kansas City Chiefs. They were without Jones. They're without Kelsey. They lost at home, opening night. Go to Jacksonville, get a win. They'll be back on track. Number 4, Miami Dolphins. I just did a whole monologue about how good that offense looked against the Chargers last week. I don't need to go any further. That defense is also really good. Again, talked about it last week's episode. The defense, the numbers, if you were to pull up their statistics from that game, was not very good. But if they made big plays when they had to, they created turnovers when they had to. I like this team overall. I really, really do. I think they are going to be a force going forward. I have them number 4. Number 3, the defending NFC champs. That is the Philadelphia Eagles. Look, they went. Hey, was it a clean win? No. Was it a beautiful win? Not necessarily. But they went on the road. They went into Foxborough. They got the job done. They didn't cover, but they won the game. They did cover. I think, what did it close at? 4.5 or 5? Well, if it closed at 4.5, they covered. Some books had it at 7. If it was 7, they didn't cover. But Philly got the job done. It doesn't seem to be much of a Super Bowl hangover with them. They play tonight, Thursday night football. They play at home opener against the Minnesota Vikings. Again, another potential trap game. I didn't pick that game, but I sort of like Philly in that game to cover -7. But watch out for Minnesota. Again, it could be, that has all the makings of a trap. Everyone just looks at the scoreboard and they say, oh, Minnesota lost to a bad team last week. Philly barely beat a decent team last week. So Philly should blow out Minnesota. Be careful. Number 2. This might cause some controversy, but they're my team this year. My team to really shock some people. And it was evident in the comments, as a lot of people got down in the comments in the last couple of videos saying, you're crazy. Dak's better, or Jalen Hurts is better than Dak. You don't know what you're talking about. Well, I have Dallas at number 2. Fluky win, maybe. Does that win say more about the Giants than it does the Cowboys? Maybe, but I said it. That defense is going to be ferocious. And they were. They were the best defense in the league by far on Monday night, or Sunday night, rather. I like Dallas at number 2. So that means there can only be one team at number 1. And they, in my opinion, were the team. I know I'm betting against them theoretically this week. But, in my opinion, they were the best-looking overall team. They were humming offensively. They were ferocious defensively. They blew out the Steelers by 20-something points. And that is, of course, my pick to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. The number 1 team on the NFL elevator after Week 1, the San Francisco 49ers. All right, that'll do it for today's show. We'll be back here probably Monday or Tuesday to wrap up Week 2. Good luck on your bets this week. I certainly hope I do way better than I did last week. 1-4 is absolutely atrocious. I got to have a huge comeback this week. So, good luck to your picks. Good luck to my picks. Good luck to your fantasy teams this week. And if your football team is playing, well, I suppose all the football teams, it's not quite bye-week season yet. Good luck to your favorite team this weekend, unless they're playing my 2 teams, the Bears or the Dolphins. I hope you lose. But otherwise, everybody have a great weekend. Enjoy the football. We'll see you on the other side.